Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today. As guys, we have a lot to cover today. Extreme things are about to happen for the XRP army. Good, bad, and everything in between. You're gonna be the person who decides how it goes. But something I want to announce first is I really like how the crypto market is performing at the moment. Today we've had a healthy pullback through and through. But something I need to say is we've been seeing the altcoins outperforming Bitcoin. We've been seeing the altcoins beginning to awaken. Things like HBAR have been absolutely exploding. And if you guys refer back to my video a couple days ago, I had a massive interview with the CEO of the HBAR Foundation. Please take a look at that, as that'll help inform you in making the decision to get a long-term position for HBAR. And I think you won't regret that. But guys, something else I want to add is an explanation for what the title of this video means. Why is the XRP community about to get robbed? Well, this is going to be a global crisis. We're stepping into volatile times. And while I think we have a brief window to trade and profit from speculative price action in the crypto market, this is a big crisis that I believe is about to happen.
It's important that people understand they can be bailed in, but you don't want a huge run on the institution. But they're going to be. And it could be an early warning signal to the FDIC and the primary regulators when these things happen. And there may be some other prices, this is similar to what Jay was saying, in the market that you can tell whether people understand who's going to be protected, who isn't going to be protected. It would be, I think, an interesting study to look at the evolution of market prices in a situation like March of 2020, for example, and see whether people understood what might happen.
I might go further than that, Don, because I think that you look at the evolution. I think we have to sit down and talk to long-term debt investors and make sure that they, as a stakeholder group, fully understand bank debt today is not what it was before. It is not principal protected by design. And I think that expectation, I like how you started off, Betsy, like it's all about expectation setting. And I think that is absolutely critical. If that doesn't hold, this whole thing doesn't hold. And so I think it's one area to focus on. I do want to go back to something Jay said about stabilizing statements. In my experience, they're not stabilizing. If you have to make a stabilizing statement, you're in real trouble. And I think that part of that means that there's a lot of pre-work that needs to be done such that those statements aren't seen as a reach. Because if they're seen as the reach, the market sniffs that out in 2 seconds and actually has the opposite impact. And this is one of those big challenges, like what can be done ahead of time so that it's all going as planned, hands off the wheel. This is part of what we've been prepared for, because that's what builds confidence.
You just said very well what I was trying to say.
You see how they laugh when they talk about stealing people's money through bank bail-ins? They just want to make sure the panic is eased, to make you feel like you're not being robbed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I bring up the concept of bail-ins, people think it's far-fetched. People think it's not reality. People think it won't happen. But there the FDIC is telling you 100% it will happen at some point. They're just planning on how to make sure you don't panic. I'm just here to prepare you and let you know how not to get robbed when the panic comes. An ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure, and being a year too early is better than being even 1 second too late. Do you guys remember when Bank of America was having people's bank accounts not have the correct deposit amount? Do you guys remember when Bank of America had the incorrect deposits in people's accounts just a couple weeks ago? Oh, that's the predictive programming. That's them mentally preparing you for what's to come. And even Lynette Zhang agrees that bank bail-ins are guaranteed.
So all of the banks that are sitting on all of those debt contracts that they're showing a valuation here because of the contracts, and all of a sudden that valuation shifts, that's tectonic, and possibly one of the reasons why the FDIC said there will be a bail-in.
And this goes back to your thesis and belief of why you're not in the banking system.
Right. I mean, I am to a degree, but not to any level that I can lose. That's going to matter to me at all.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, can you believe that? You see, bank bail-ins, they're not going to really harm the people with a couple $1,000s in their bank accounts. Oh, no. What's going to happen is the institutions, the banks, they're going to need the people with only a couple $1,000 in their bank accounts to want bail-ins to happen, because they're going to steal the money from the 1%, the people, the entrepreneurs that have quite a sizable amount of money in the banks. Boom. Take a little off the top. You don't need that. You see, we're having a banking crisis, liquidity crunch. We need your capital to make sure things run smoothly. Oh, we're at the end of the Ponzi scheme, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why this XRP lawsuit took place. You see, Bank of America and JP Morgan are the two biggest banks in the United States. Bank of America is a massive Ripple partner. JP Morgan is a massive Ethereum partner. It's very possible that JP Morgan and Ethereum colluded together to try and stop Ripple and Bank of America in their tracks. It's very possible that these two Goliaths pitted themselves against each other with two different technologies. And I think Bank of America is going to win once this lawsuit and this sabotage is said and done. JP Morgan had plenty of time with Ether. The merge already took place, and still a lot of Ethereum's problems are not resolved. But XRP never really had problems. It's always just had a bullshit lawsuit standing in its way from becoming the #1 digital asset on the planet. This is a hypothesis put before us by Mr. Huber, and I'm very much in agreement that that's something that's possibly going on. Now, guys, something you need to know is that I believe 2023 is the year of central bank digital currency adoption, and CBDCs, in my opinion, will be gradually rolling out ahead of XRP's decision in this case. This year, as XRP's decision in this case will take place. This will allow for the perfect storm for CBDCs to be live, XRP to gain some price appreciation, and then for XRP to act as that bridge for CBDCs. Problem, reaction, solution, trial runs of all this tech is coming soon. I remember sitting back in 2019 thinking CBDCs were closer than I'd expect them to be. And now, many of them are live, and even more coming this year.
Don't we seem to lurch from crisis to crisis to crisis, keeping everybody off balance?
It feels like that to me, yeah.
Exactly. So what if it's not really them versus us, but everybody, all the central bankers and the governments working together to create this transition? I know it sounds crazy.
No,
but
nothing sounds crazy anymore, Lynette.
Right.
Okay, is it to usher in the new era of central bank digital currencies?
Oh, yes. It's the surveillance era, and I just got goosebumps. And who has been leading the way to that but China? And, you know, other countries can look at China and say, oh, well, you know, look at their government versus, they might say we have democracy, but we don't really have democracy here. But China's been showing the world how to control their population except for just recently when they changed the mandate. And I think that's because of the population was starting to rise up in more different areas. So I was very happy to see that. But China's really been showing us the way to get adoption of the CBDC and how to control a society. So it would make some level of sense for them to be taking over.
You know, I have had experts, as Doug Casey recently on my show, saying 2023 will be the year that we'll see the introduction of central bank digital currencies. Some would say it's still too soon. Any takes here? Could this be the year? Are they still in pilot project phase? Where are we at with it, you think?
Well, I think we're a lot further along with it than they want us to understand. So I would agree with Doug that this is going to be the year that we see the CBDCs introduced in earnest. And I can see it, and I could be dead wrong on this, but I could see it happening the second half of this year sometime.
Wow. And I'm assuming you think it would be China to be the first, or... I mean, well, Doug had said it would be a country like Sweden, he put out there as what he thinks could be the first. But
China's already utilizing it for a lot of their population. And we've seen smaller countries, everybody's experimenting with it. But I think we're going to have a big crisis this year. I don't think there's going to be a soft landing. I don't think that there is disinflation. I think there's going to be a hard landing. I think there's going to be a big crisis because, and I talk about this piece a lot, and I don't really hear anybody else talking about it. And maybe it's going to be a big fat nothing burger. Maybe I'm wrong, but we are in the middle of that transition from LIBOR, that interest rate benchmark, in this country, in the U.S., SOFR, and they're getting some pushbacks, particularly from CLOs, collateralized loan obligations. And I don't think they can make the transition. I mean, there's still over 610 trillion notional value contracts that have to be converted. And even with their mathematical fixes, they cannot get the SOFR to show interest rates the same as the LIBOR, and that impacts all of the contracts that still have LIBOR embedded in it. And why isn't anybody talking about it? Because this is a big experiment that has never been tried before, ever.
So you're talking a crisis bigger than '08, much bigger.
Oh, much bigger. Yeah.
A complete system default, Lynette.
It could be a complete system default, but I think they need a crisis to cover up this whole piece in here. So maybe it happens before June, maybe it happens after June, but I have a feeling that we have to have one to cover up Wall Street didn't think that they could do it. And you've got some on Wall Street, particularly in the collateralized loan obligation space, that are really starting to push back because their payments have been reduced. And so they don't want to make that transition. Can it be forced? I don't know.
And guys, I 100% agree. You see, what's going on right now has never been tested, like Lynette stated. But then at the same time, I've been speculating for years that XRP could be what fixes the problems that this financial crisis are going to bring. This transition from LIBOR to SOFR is going to be a bumpy road. And regardless of how the technical aspects of this transition take place, I do think XRP is going to play a pivotal role in helping stabilize the system once it collapses. I think this great collapse comes September, October, after June, like Lynette stated. You need to understand that we have a brief window to profit take, and then afterwards, we're going to be hit by the storm. We're going to weather the storm, because the XRP army has always been correct. We were right about this Ripple XRP case being so important for the entire industry. We were right about all the corruption. There was no fraud with XRP. And soon, we're gonna prove the maxis wrong. It's always been a battle. XRP versus Bitcoin, Bank of America versus JP Morgan, XRP versus Ether. The tribalism in crypto is unacceptable. They wanted a war that we didn't want. But even though we didn't want it, we're about to win. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bearable Bull here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Now I'll be back tomorrow with another video.
Why do I hold XRP? Because Ripple's the chosen one to lead the new global digital payment system, and they use XRP. In 2013, the Federal Reserve began looking for faster payments options. 2 years later, an action plan was born and a federal payments task force was created. It included one company focused on crypto, Ripple. In 2014, the World Bank and Better Than Cash Alliance, which includes the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, and the governments of 32 countries, put out a report called The Opportunities of Digitizing Payments. 1 year later, the Better Than Cash Alliance featured one crypto company on their website, Ripple. Today, Better Than Cash Alliance and all other UN initiatives are focused on a single agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. You can see the SDGs logo on Bill Gates' lapel, world-leading companies, the Better Than Cash Alliance website, and on the UN's official exchange, Exchange. What crypto is Exchange officially utilizing for their carbon credit solution? XRP. The world will move to a new international standard for exchanging electronic messages between financial institutions by 2025 called ISO 20022. Who was the first ISO 20022 member focused on distributed ledger technology? Ripple. Who's partnered with over 300 financial institutions including Bank of America, American Express, PNC, Santander, SBI, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of England, India, Singapore, Scotland, Australia, and Indonesia, the largest banks in Japan, Canada, Egypt, the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Morocco, Bhutan, South Korea, Brazil, and Latin America? Ripple. Who is a former employee overseeing the Federal Reserve? Ripple. A former employee overseeing the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock's digital asset division? Ripple. Leading Australia's CBDC effort? Ripple. Who hired a former Treasury of the United States? Ripple. 2 former Federal Reserve attorneys to their board? Ripple. 2 former Clinton and Obama advisors? Former Minister of Defense and Economics of Germany? Former business director at Swift? Former Swift board member? Former CFO of PayPal? Former head of the DTCC? Former chief business officer at Uber? Former VP of Amazon and former SEC chair on their legal team? Ripple. Who's a member of the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Dollar Project, Digital Euro Association, Mojaloop, IMF's high-level advisory board on fintech, Hyperledger Blockchain Consortium, Open Payments Coalition, Faster Payments Council, Global Payments Steering Group, Cross-Border Working Group, International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, Crypto Climate Accord, University Blockchain Initiative, World Wide Web Consortium, and a featured partner of the World Economic Forum with 3 members of their team directly listed on the WF website? Ripple. Now, does Ripple and XRP sound like they're going to disappear, or do they sound like they're part of a much bigger plan? You decide.